of course, to be promoted from associate prof to professor or from senior lecturer to professor, it is not a one-day preparation. You have to prepare them from the day they step into the university, day one. So this is what we tell them, but we polish up during this process so that they can perform better during the interviews. And we also go through this 4-track promotion. It has to be because not everyone understands about the 4-track promotion. And they don't even know which form to fill, and how to fill, and what to fill. And of course, preparing for interviews, we have to groom them on how to behave during interviews. Again, we have the succession for leadership dynamics, also suitable for the succession leadership, shape, and ILD is also responsible for professorial lectures. I'm just concentrating on academics. So we have a whole series of programs for non-academics, but I'm not going to present them here today because they are actually very structured. For the administrators, vacancies are limited. For academicians, it's not limited. For administrators, we all know that they go from 41 to 44, 48, and they have to go through exams and tests, and when there's a vacancy, then only they are promoted. But that is more structured. So now back to the future, strategic plans 2016 to 2020. These are what we will be doing. Enhancement of talent development programs for university excellence. Again, Tansi's input will be very, very useful. This year we were reviewing, refining and implementing talent development policies. Looking at financial support and mechanism. We were concentrating on succession plan. My KPI was 6 months before the BC term ends, give me a name. Yeah, and in the next 2 years, all the 4 deputy vice chancellors will be retiring, so we will also be working on succession plan for the next team of deputy vice chancellors, and not to mention 26 deans and 13 rectors, because they come and go. In 2017 to 2018, design, development and implementation of more courses, especially for the 4-track promotion. Income generation is very important, and we will build a directory of expertise. And beyond that, enhancement of digital support systems in order to monitor all these activities, the database, and who's gone to what course, who's gone to AKEPT, who didn't go to AKEPT, who didn't come to our course. We need to have a database. But I believe we can do it faster than 2020, because I don't think I can wait that long. So this is in our blueprint, but when I was appointed, I thought, I think we can do it faster than that. For the leadership talent pool, establishment of clear governance, we had a succession plan since 2008, but unfortunately, it didn't really work. So we have to have a relook and make sure that there is a proper governance, a proper procedure, and committees to look into it. And this is what we have done, and we hope to implement it by next year. There is, of course, for succession planning, a whole series of processes that are involved, but I'm not going to present to you in detail. Unless you pay me a visit, then I can share with you the succession planning processes. The last few years, we have developed the IQ leader system, which I believe was the base for the AKEPT profiling system. But we are developing our own based on our needs and the criteria given to the type of leaders that the university leads. We'll be preparing the leadership report card. We already had the framework, but the report card will be more intensive and will include the attributes and the traits that are for futuristic leaders. We're still developing and firming up the report card. And of course, the implementation and enhancement of profiling and assessment tools. We used to use the Harrison profiling tool, but it is becoming very, very expensive. and actually it's not suitable for our culture. So we are hoping to work on another tool with UPM. UPM has a group of psychologists who are very adept at this. I believe AKEPT is the same, but we're trying to come up with something that is affordable. So we have to be innovative and creative in order to take advantage of the limited resources that we have. What we will also introduce is the coaching and mentoring mechanism for current and future leaders. The top priority issues for ILD at the moment are 4: effective communication in English, succession planning, quality of talent, and research leaders. We have to prioritize. Although we have a beautiful building, considering the budget that has been allocated, we have to prioritize into areas that are of immediate importance. Currently, we are updating the succession planning process, and what we're trying to improve is what are the criteria to be a VC. Of course, we do have the basic, and we have looked at the advertisement for Deputy Vice Chancellors. The attributes that are required to be a Deputy Vice Chancellor are, I think, quite basic. With Tan Sri's input, I think that the criteria given in those advertisements are insufficient. I think the future Deputy Vice Chancellors need to have more attributes that will, I think we're just trying to be ambitious to try to save the world. But again, we do not deny the importance of these leaders because they shape, to quote AKEPT, shaping the minds. Yeah? ILD also hopes to shape the minds of the future leaders, and it is important to have very high traits for our leaders. This is very important. The future is frightening. Right, past and present initiatives. Again, I mentioned we already had the succession planning model back in 2008, but it was not effective. In 2009, the administrative staff implemented the succession planning, and I believe that's worked. There were guidelines in 2009, and UITM introduced a program Transformasi UITM in 2015, of which this project wanted to select candidates for high potential, and that has been done. But the thing to do now is to train them into becoming better leaders. Tan Sri mentioned about emotional quotient. Yes, the fundamental traits of leaders, we need 3: the intelligent quotient, the IQ, the spiritual quotient, which AKEPT is now going for, and the emotional quotient. These are 3 basic traits that are required for leaders. For the non-academics, they also have these traits required of the administrators: IQ and EQ, values and ethics, interpersonal and communication skills. For the academics, we had divided into 3: instructional leadership, managerial leadership, succession management, and these were the programs that were designed for such types of leadership. This, I'm going to show you very briefly about the succession planning process. It has to, first you have to identify what type of person do you want. And then you identify the person for the key positions. Is it the VC? For short term, those in position, the current office bearers, but for the future, those who would fill up the vacancies. And then you have to identify the skills and competencies required to hold the post. And then you identify from the pool that you have, assess using 360-degree and psychometric assessments. This is difficult, but we'll try. We analyze and rank, and then we develop programs for the gaps that we have identified from our talent pool. And of course, we need data analytics. Nowadays, we call it talent analytics, and then monitoring and mentoring and coaching. So hopefully, this will be successful. For the administrative staff, as I mentioned, they had applied the succession model since 2009, and the current registrar is the result of that succession planning exercise. And also the second informant, Ketua Timbalan Pendaftaran, which is at VK7. We have a VK6 and VK7 for UiTM. Both posts were filled by candidates who went through the succession planning exercise, and this is our success story. So it worked. However, it didn't work for the academic staff because I admit we were using the point system, not the merit point system, but I think you were suitable for TNC, you were suitable for Dean, you were suitable for Rector, using that kind of system. But it's not really like that anymore because it is tough being a leader and we need the best. So what are we doing? We are refining the succession planning mechanism. We have completed the listing of criteria for top management posts. That was what we were doing during the last few months. And then development of the systems. Immediately in January, design and development of training programs, and according to the 4 tracks, the individual leadership development programs, which we will identify for AKEPT. The candidates that we send to AKEPT are carefully selected. They are from our current talent pool that have gone through several courses at UiTM, or from subjective point of view, had the potential to be the next DVC or VC. But we'll do something more objective, because that's the talent pool that we have. We have to work on the current talent pool, and we have to also work on the future talent pool. The map of the succession framework, we have the first level leaders, we have administrative leaders, the types of courses, then academic leaders, the type of courses, and strategic leaders, and the type of courses suitable for that kind. So we will be working together with AKEPT, and I think AKEPT has come up with a very good system, very structured, and we will make sure that our training programs will be in line. It'll be easy for AKEPT to pick up from the talent pool. After we have processed them, we're done with them, we send them to AKEPT. What we've done is we've mapped the UiTM's courses against the Orange Playbook and also against AKEPT. The Orange Playbook, I believe, our input was given by AKEPT, and I think it's almost similar. Different terms were used, yeah? And we mapped ours against that, and we could see that there is an alignment, some alignment. But we can improve by adding, subtracting, and substantially improve the content of the programs so that they can be easily transferred to AKEPT for the next level. And we will introduce, now I'm telling Dr. Azni, now since you've gone, we'll introduce the coding system as well. So that will be easier. Yeah? Don't bother too much about this model, but we were trying to visualize the type of leaders that we need for the university. And you can see it's very institutional. AKEPT is more for the country, so we're looking institutional. We're looking at where are the people coming from, how are we going to fill up the pool. And we have new talent, we have the new generation. We have 50% of our staff who are less than 40 years old. So that's the talent that we have to also dig up, and they are our future leaders, so we cannot neglect them. They will be taking over where we live, so they're also equally important than just the deans and the rectors and the VCs.